over the past few weeks, all of the discussion surrounding Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been negative. I think that this game is going to be a complete and utter failure for Rocksteady, and many people have been very disappointed in what seems to be the end of the Arkhamverse. But now gamers want refunds for the game because searches for Suicide Squad refunds have skyrocketed, but the first round of Critic reviews are up, and they are going terribly. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, of course, reviewers just 2 weeks ago were melting down over the fact that none of them got early review codes, so this really is only their kind of first impressions and impressions of roughly 3 days worth of the game since it has been in early pre-order, like, digital deluxe access, but it seems like most of them have gotten through the main story because it is on the shorter side, which is why those reviews are finally starting to go up, and even the critics do not like this game. Now, of course, even though it is up in this digital deluxe early access period for everyone, gamers themselves are not allowed to leave reviews because Metacritic makes sure that reviews cannot be put onto their site until after it's already fully released 24 hours, so those reviews will not be compiled until tomorrow when I'm uploading this video. But as you can see, the critic scores are abysmal. A 63 is definitely not good and definitely not what Rocksteady was expecting, and they really don't have a lot to say about this game that is positive. Some of them are saying, it has its moments that are really good. It has funny dialogue at times, but most of these reviewers are just saying it's bad. Now, of course, I personally do not trust reviewers. I will be playing this game myself, even though I'm a lover of the Arkhamverse, and I cannot believe they have disrespected gamers and the 4 other games that came before it. But I am going to give it a try. I am going to live stream a full playthrough, and I've got to be honest, from everything we've seen so far, I don't see any way I could possibly be very happy with this game because of the disrespect. But people are saying things like, is this the same Rocksteady Studios that once made the iconic Batman Arkham games? Honestly, I'm not really sure anymore, with the game falling short in almost every conceivable aspect. Now, this is still Rocksteady, but you do have to consider that years ago, many of the people who worked on those Arkham games left Rocksteady and either went to form their own companies, went to work for different companies, and while this is a continuation of the Arkhamverse, it doesn't really seem like many people want that to be the case. Most people are saying that this is just a standalone game, has nothing to do with the Arkhamverse, and I think that this is going to be the only way that people play this with some level of enjoyment. Good luck, have fun said, I really wanted to like this game. You can tell a lot of people worked very hard on it, and I love the Arkham games, and there isn't another studio I'd have trusted to tackle a concept like this, but everything good about this game is undermined by its games as a live service shackles. We all knew that this was going to be one of its largest hurdles, even story and content aside. It is a live service game at its core, and live service games have not done well. There are no live service games that have been, massively successful that have released over the past few years. And of course, one that comes to mind is most notably Marvel's Avengers, another absolute failure for the, comic book character genre of video games. But Games.cz said, beneath the entertaining action and well-performed characters lies an average looter shooter in which you repeat about 5 activities endlessly. The gameplay for this, everyone is saying at some point it will get repetitive for you. Even these more positive reviews, and an 80 is the highest, by the way, they are saying while it is fun for the first few hours, if you really get into the mindset of these characters, it eventually becomes just a slog fest and becomes extremely boring. But even gamers, of course, are not happy with the story that has been released, the leaks that happened a few weeks ago, and of course have been making their rounds again on social media. Spoiler alert, if you do not want to know, it is called Kill the Justice League, and while they do kill off Batman, the Batman that we have loved for many years at this point, I wouldn't have necessarily been upset with that if they had done it in a way that felt authentic to this version of the character we had. Of course, Nightfall Protocol will forever be the ending of the Arkhamverse in my heart and my soul, but now gamers want refunds for this terrible game. This is a Clownfish TV article. It says the launch of Suicide Squad has stirred a whirlwind of controversy, disappointment, and a staggering demand for refunds, painting a tumultuous picture for what once was the most anticipated game of the year. I don't actually agree with this. I do not think that this was ever the most anticipated game of the year. I definitely think that there are a plethora of other titles that people are extremely excited for. While I do think that this could have been an extremely successful game if they actually made a half-decent story, I never thought it was going to be a game of the year, but it says, of course, instead, early access players encountered a host of problems that led to an unprecedented 791% surge in refund searches. Now, this is a major issue, okay? When you are paying for a $100 edition of a game, and it says you have a early access period before everybody else, you expect to get your money's worth, and that is not what happened with this game. They had to take the servers down for about 10 hours of one of those days because the game was auto-completing. The story was auto-completing as soon as you booted the game up. Just absurd bugs and glitches that just show that they really have no quality control going on over at their company at all whatsoever. And yes, people do deserve refunds for this if they didn't get the experience they wanted. Now, of course, this game is still probably going to be the most talked about game for a little while, for all of the wrong reasons, because I do think that this is going to be labeled one of the worst games to release in 2024. Even though we're only 2 months into the year, I definitely think that it will stand the test of time and by November or December not be completely forgotten. But at its core, we knew that this game was going to be abysmal. We knew that the story was going to be disappointing, and of course with the live service elements and the fact that Sweet Baby Inc. helped with this game, I just don't see how people could have ever really gotten super excited for this title. If you did not know, Sweet Baby Inc. worked on the script writing, the banter, cutscenes, barks, audio logs, etc. And from what we have seen from, all of the gameplay that's been released, it seems like it is a cringe-worthy woke mess. It is just so sad that in only a few years that Sweet Baby Inc. has been in the industry, they have already destroyed so many projects. They have been part of some that have been received as relatively successful, like God of War Ragnarok. It was a pretty good game. It had its moments that were not very good, though. Same with Spider-Man 2. Big disappointment to fans of the first Spider-Man PlayStation 4 game. And then Alan Wake 2, I have to say, after waiting a decade for the sequel, it was one of the most lackluster sequels I have ever played, and we knew that Suicide Squad had some cringy elements, some cringy storytelling, but the sheer amount of disrespect to these characters who they are saying have been beloved for years and years at this point in the Arkhamverse is just astounding. I cannot believe they had the guts to try to ruin these characters in such a blatant way, and it's just so disappointing to see another game that could have potentially been good in some way, shape, or form turned out to be a complete and utter disaster. But honestly, Rocksteady deserves the fail, Sweet Baby Inc. deserves the fail, and it will be interesting to see what gamers actually rate this title as, because of course, again, the user scores are not up at this point in time. But of course, I don't think that those reviews are going to be very positive, and if I had to take a little guess, I think that the user scores will end up being around a 2 to a 2.5, and that's even being generous. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.